The fragile ones. The first human ship arrived looking more like driftwood than metal. To the Xel'ari fleet, masters of 9 sectors and stewards of cosmic order, it was almost comical. A clattering vessel stitched together from scavenged alloys, its hull scarred and pitted like stone worn thin by fire. Commander Cathal watched the transmission on his command screen. The creature who appeared, soft-skinned, wide-eyed, small, raised one hand in a curious gesture and asked permission to assist. Assist. The Xel'ari laughed for 3 entire cycles. They were stabilizing the moons of Vurnis Prime, averting atmospheric collapse with gravitic arrays so precise they could balance a mountain on light. Humanity's crude engines, by every calculation, couldn't lift a stabilizer core without liquefying themselves. Still, the human captain, Mira Hayes, persisted. "We have dealt with worse," she said. "Our planet tried to kill us every season. We got good at not dying." They dismissed her with the politeness reserved for children. Yet she remained in orbit, sending equations that made no sense, mathematics held together by optimism rather than proof. Then the third stabilizer failed. The Xel'ari's perfect models had not accounted for quantum resonance in the planet's molten core. The crust began to buckle. Their fleet faltered. Panic rippled through order. Through the static came the human voice again. "We can fix it." Before Cathal could respond, Hayes's ship plunged into the atmosphere, its hull glowing white against the storm. He shouted for her to withdraw. She didn't. Minutes later, the tremors ceased. For the first time in his long command, Cathal filed a report beginning with, "We owe our survival to primitives." Weeks passed. Humanity sent engineers, not soldiers. They worked beside Xel'ari scientists who could not fathom their persistence or their laughter. Humans rebuilt what failed, broke it again, and rebuilt once more. Cathal watched one team realign a gravitic array using scavenged magnets and equations scrawled on a ration wrapper. When it worked, they cheered and toasted with bitter brown liquid. He began to admire their disorder. So when the Rail Dominion invaded, drawn by weakness, the Xel'ari were unprepared. Their fleet lay in dry dock. Humanity offered to defend them. The Council refused. "Your kind cannot withstand planetary bombardment," one elder said. Hayes only smiled, that same reckless smile. "Then we won't stay still long enough to be bombarded." What followed was chaos masquerading as genius. Human ships vanished into the magnetic storms of Vurnis, turning the planet's own fury into camouflage. They seeded decoy transponders across the ionosphere, conjuring phantom fleets. Every strike the rail made hit ghosts. Cathal's tactical displays filled with static and victory. When the enemy finally aimed at the planet itself, the stabilizers, Hayes's stabilizers, began to fail again. Another resonance surge threatened to tear the world apart. She volunteered to guide the overload manually. Cathal stood beside the link console as her voice came through one last time. "Tell your council we weren't trying to win. Just trying not to let you lose." Then light consumed the screen. Afterward, Vurnis Prime held. The rail fleet retreated, sensors blinded by an electromagnetic pulse whose waveform echoed a human heartbeat. Hayes's ship was gone. The Xel'ari Council issued commendations to their own engineers. History might have ended there, tidy, self-congratulatory, if the humans hadn't kept sending signals. Not distress calls, songs. They filled the silence with old Earth melodies, broadcast into the dust belt until even Cathal's children could hum them. Centuries later, pilgrims still visit Vurnis Prime. The stabilizers, fused into mountains, pulse faintly in rhythm, one beat every hour. The alien inscriptions carved there are simple, translated into a language nearly forgotten. They said we were fragile. We proved them right, because fragile things learn how not to break.